Hello everyone. Today I decided I was going to do something very, very different. Everybody else keeps making the same art videos and I want to just try to be a little different. I keep making the same ones, all these short little things that aren't going anywhere. So today I changed that. I'm really hoping all of you enjoy what you see next. See you in a minute. Hello everyone. Today we will be drawing something very different in comparison to what I usually draw. Something I haven't drawn since high school, using the softest sketch pencil that I have at my disposal. If you can already tell what this is, just by one half of it, I'm very proud of you. It's a heart, and it's not going to be your own standard heart. This heart's going to be very different from what everybody else has been putting out. And I really hope all of you enjoy. Now obviously we have just your standard heart, but I started off with taking off this just little bit of chunks right on the edge. Kind of disassembling the heart, if you may say so. Showing just a little bit of what's on the inside, but only for a moment. You'll see what I mean by that in just a second. Now I'm going to give it a small patch. Don't know what I'm going to do with that, but we'll take a gander at that later. Now I'm going to just put some little stitchings all around the edge. Call that one good. And now for the real big ticker. I'm going to put some kind of slime or liquid draping over the top of this heart. I've only ever seen myself and maybe a few other people do this, but not very often and not very recently. As I said, I have not drawn something like this since high school. And now I'm going to add this small little cut into the heart. Just a small little thing. Now I don't know about you, but this looks like it might hurt just a little bit. We'll give everything some dots, add some stitching in between. Don't mind the skips. I didn't really want to bore everybody with those in-between bits that nobody really cares about. And with the stitching, you want to make absolutely sure that you are going at the right angle. You can try to freehand it like I did, but it's going to take you a couple of times sometimes to get that angle just right, going from one to the other. Now, I'm going to add just a few little lines here. Give us another slice through this heart. This is a very damaged heart. I don't know what I'm going to call these yet. I have a few ideas, thanks to what I used to call them. But I added some words here. Love, hate, and then I wrote in life and death. Just to show that this heart just knows what life actually is. Well, obviously the D didn't quite work out for me, but it always takes an eraser, drawing it again. But as always, I made these stitches into a couple of little words to signify just what this heart actually means. And now, after a light erasing of all of my lines, I am adding some details to this slime. Now with a slime, you want some round lines, but not perfectly round lines. Slime is always acting in different ways. You want different size drapes. You want different size drops or droplets going down. I tried to add a little bit of sheen to the top of this at the beginning, but I think I'm just going to get rid of that. And with a slime, you want this to look viscous, but not too viscous. You want it to look like it's still stuck there, just draping off or hanging there. Now, I did add quite a bit, but you will see by the end how this all truly comes together as a nice draped slime on a very messed up heart. A crooked heart, as you might say. Right here, I am adding some excess droplets because slime is very sticky and likes to stay together, but there is always some droplets. And over here, I decided to add a vein, pulsating, life, death, it all comes together. You know what I mean. And now I am using a 0.01 millimeter inking pen, one of the smallest tips I could ever get my hands on. And so far, fine lines have worked really well. This drawing came out incredibly fine detailed by the time I was done with all of these small lines. You don't always have to get your lines perfect, but I can say you do want to make sure that you erase a good portion of that pencil before you do anything else. Now going back through my stitching in the cursive, this is actually very satisfying to do. You don't need to be perfect with this either, but as I mentioned earlier, you do want your angles to look at least like they would kind of fit what they're supposed to look like. You want them to go from spot to spot almost perfect. And if you can, if you have to, use a ruler, or at least a small piece of paper. As you can see, I added swirls, not just because it is cursive, but because it is string. It is thread, and as you much well know in art and thread, they tend to just kind of curl up and bend. Now, with this little patch, I didn't really know what to put inside of the patch once it was actually completed. But I just used some small little lines as stitching to show that it's just kind of stuck there with a couple quick stitches, as patches do most of the time. Now, going back through, I decided not to add a sheen to the top, but instead to add a small line to the bottom and sides of almost all of the slime to give it an almost 3D texture, as if it has some kind of bulbous parts and some parts that aren't quite just flat and smooth to what the rest of it is. I also added lines to the underneath and inside of the curves to show that it is not only just sitting there, it is sitting on top of that next layer and pushing down on whatever layer it is on top of, giving it a very 3D effect. Now, when I finally got to it, I just decided to start with just lines. But I was going to do just a couple of stripes, see if I could color it, see what would happen. But then I decided stripes was just a little too boring. So I put some sideways lines, made it into a nice little checkerboard. Maybe when I color this in with pencils or markers, we shall see which one I choose. I can make it into plaid or a chessboard, or just leave it black and white if I want to. Now, these lines that I'm adding are showing that not only is this heart shaded, it is also incredibly discolored in certain areas. I want to show that this heart has been through it, and it's been through a lot of it. I also added some discoloration to the bottom. I don't necessarily know what I want these to be, whether they're just discolorations because it's damaged, or if it's bruising, or it could even be old burn marks. Honestly, it's up to your imagination. I want you to think about what this heart's been through. And I did go back through with my .01 fine liner and inked all of these lines in just to give us some nice depth. I added some small wrinkle lines to each stitching just to make this heart more 3D in a way. I did end up inking in all of the discoloration that I put on the top and bottom, making it into sort of a hatching to definitely give it like it's some sort of damage and discoloration that has happened either over time or a very long time ago. I also did what I did with the slime to the vein, just to make it seem like it's very protruding out. I felt that that was very necessary to give this whole heart a real good look, so you can see exactly what's happened to it. And with that, I used the 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil that I have, with a very nice grip, to shade in and color some of the spots that I wanted to have, and I left it as a single, direction for every bit of shading that I did, just to make sure that nothing got blurred, and so everyone can see all of those small lines that I put into this. And I can say this art did take me quite a while to make. I think all in all it took me 2.5 hours over the course of a day. I do unfortunately have a slightly busy life. But with all that shading, it slowly did come to a close. This drawing came out a lot better than I thought it would. All of this came from just the middle of my mind. And I added some shading underneath all of the slime just to show that it is not a part of the heart, it is definitely above it. I stuck with the same sort of technique, sticking to a single direction for all of the shading underneath of the slime. No matter how tedious, a little bit of shading will always make your drawing pop out just that little bit more. Whether you want it to be 3D, you want it to look gritty, you want it to be cute. And shading is also the opposite of highlighting. When it comes to a white drawing like this, just highlighting doesn't just work. But with that, I added some shading to this vein just to make that pop just a little bit more. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one. Appreciate it.